Have you ever gone to visit a friend and want to use their Wi-Fi? When you search for available Wi-Fi networks in your current location, you'll see a list of service set identifiers, SSIDs, to choose from. Often, when people have Wi-Fi set up, they just leave the SSID to whatever the internet service provider has as its default for that connection. Typically, these SSIDs are generic, listing the provider and then a combination of letters and numbers, as shown here. There's nothing wrong with keeping the SSID at the default name. It works just fine. But what if you owned a business, like a car repair shop? You'd want customers to enjoy their time while they wait. You'd offer coffee, snacks, and Wi-Fi. Anything to make their time go by faster. A personalized SSID can make it easy for the customer to find your network and get logged in. In this episode of Cisco Tech Talk, I'll demonstrate how to configure a wireless local area network, WLAN, service set identifier, SSID, on a Cisco Business Wireless Access Point. To get started, log into your Cisco Business Wireless Access Point by entering the username and password. Click Sign In. After accessing the web user interface of your device, navigate to the wireless settings and select WLANs. Here, you can view the existing WLAN configurations. To create a new SSID, click on the Add New WLAN/RLAN button. As you can see, under the General tab, the WLAN ID field will auto-populate. In this case, it shows WLAN number 3 as the first option, since 2 WLANs are already configured in my network. You need to make sure to configure type as WLAN to allow devices to connect and communicate in wireless mode. Next, type a profile name in the field provided. In this example, new_SSID is entered. You'll want to choose something easy for customers to identify. This could be the name of your business or something else creative. Just keep in mind that the profile name must be unique and not exceed 31 characters. The profile name also acts as the SSID, but you can choose an SSID that is different from the WLAN profile name. And to keep things simple, I'll use the same name for both profile name and SSID fields. After that, to enable WLAN, simply slide the toggle button. Next, select a radio policy from the drop-down menu. The options include all, 5 GHz, and 2.4 GHz. For this example, all is selected so that the SSID will be visible for both the radio, 2.4 GHz, and 5 GHz. The Broadcast SSID feature is enabled by default, so the SSID can be discovered by wireless clients wanting to join it. The next field is local profiling. This is disabled by default. If you enable this option, you can either view the operating system that is running on the client or the username. In this case, I'll leave it as disabled. Next, navigate to the Wlan Security tab. Here, if you enable the guest network, the WLAN will be considered a guest WLAN that provides guest user access. This may be what you want, but for this example, it is left as disabled. The Captive Network Assistant feature detects the presence of a captive portal by sending a web request for connecting to a wireless network. Typically, this request is directed to a URL for iPhone models. If a response is received, then the internet access is considered available and no further interaction is required. If no response is received, internet access is assumed to be blocked by the captive portal. If this is the case, Apple's Captive Portal Network Assistant auto-launches the pseudo browser to request a portal login in a controlled window. I'm going to leave Captive Network Assistant disabled. Okay, that's the basics. So if that's all you need, save the configurations and you're set. Time to get back to business. If you want to configure more advanced parameters, keep watching. I'll start with MAC filtering. You can restrict or permit a particular client joining your network by enabling the MAC filtering feature. When MAC filtering is enabled on the WLAN, the client MAC address must be added to the local MAC address list. In this case, this feature is disabled. Under Security Type, select WPA2/WPA3 personnel. Here, WPA2 is enabled by default. You can also enable WPA3 individually if the client is WPA3 compatible. I'll enable WPA3. Next, to configure passphrase format, I'll choose an ASCII value. The WPA pre-shared key must contain 8 to 63 ASCII text characters or 64 hexadecimal characters. After entering the passphrase, go ahead and enter it again in the Confirm Passphrase field. You can click on the Show Passphrase checkbox to see the passphrase you have configured. The password expiry feature is disabled by default. To enable, simply slide the toggle button. The maximum range for expiry is 180 days. In this scenario, it's not enabled. From here, navigate to the VLAN and Firewall tab. Select Client IP Management as the external DHCP server. That will allow the external DHCP server in your network to provide IP addresses to the client. On the next line, the peer-to-peer block option is disabled by default. If you enable this, it'll disable communication between clients that are connected in the same WLAN. In this case, I'm going to go with the default settings. After that, for the Use VLAN tagging and Enable Firewall fields, I'll select No, the default setting. However, if you want to tag a VLAN in your network for this specific WLAN, you can enable the VLAN tagging option and specify the VLAN ID from the drop-down menu. If you enable the firewall, you'll need to configure additional parameters, including VLAN ACL and WLAN post-auth ACL. These will be applicable for all WLANs under the same VLAN. Next, navigate to the Traffic Shaping tab and select Silver, Best Effort option for Quality of Service, QoS. Finally, navigate to the Scheduling tab. Here, you can choose the schedule for the WLAN profile that you're creating. You have the option to enable the schedule and apply it to all weekdays. After that, you can specify the time the new SSID will be active. For this example, 8 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. is selected. Once you finalize your settings, you can click the Apply button. The configurations will take effect, and the new SSID or new WLAN will be created. Now you know how to add a new WLAN and configure an SSID on your Cisco Business Wireless Access Point. Customers love when things are easy and simple, and when you create a positive experience, they'll be back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.